our Peg Checky, who is going to be joining us any moment now, having a small internet glitch. Daniel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. My name's Daniel Martin. I'm the instructional technologist with Citi. Today I'm going to be talking about, for our breakout session, how to get started in using ChatGPT, talking about academic integrity and any privacy concerns that might be involved with AI.
Thanks. All right, I'm Emily Rush. In the didactic portion, I'll be talking a little bit about what is AI literacy and offering some actionable strategies to incorporate AI literacies into your courses. And Laura?
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Smith, and I'm an instructional designer with Citi. In my breakout room, we'll be discussing creating and refining assignments using AI tools.
Thanks, Laura. All right, so our objectives for today's workshop are the following. First of all, we want to define AI literacy and give you a framework for thinking about it. We'll also discuss some issues regarding student use of AI tools and the relation to academic integrity. And as Daniel noted, that will be a specific focus of his breakout room when we get to the breakout room portion. We're all going to demonstrate different ways to effectively use AI tools as part of your teaching and scholarly practice. And we hope to help you develop a plan for addressing AI in your teaching. All right, is Peg here?
I don't see her yet.
Okay, if it seems reasonable to the rest of the Citi team, what I think I might do is jump to AI literacies, just so we can try to keep to time. And then we can decide about coming back to the highlights of the AACN webinar, which Peg had attended and had some great insights that she had wanted to share with you all. So forgive me for just a minute as I flip through some slides. Actually, though, we can start with this. So this is a great question that Peg had wanted to pose to you all. And I think we could use the chat to do it, is to think about, where do we even start with AI? So for those of you who are using it, if you're willing, if you'd like to maybe just start popping in the chat some of the ways that you've used AI or the ways that you're interested in using AI.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. I've used it for, we had to, I guess this isn't really for a class, but I'm on a journal editorial board and we used it for, or I used it to put together criteria and a rating scale for selecting a paper of the year for the journal. I've used it to create a lesson, like an interactive lesson for a class, not my class, but for one of my colleagues' classes. And it seems like I've used it one other time explicitly for a class, at least one other time. I just can't remember. So I've messed around with it a little bit.
Great. And is it okay if I put you on the spot, Jeff? I thought you, in a previous workshop, had mentioned Midjourney. So I was just curious if you had been able to use that or had a chance yet.
I have not met. Midjourney is the Discord image one, right?
Right.
Yeah, I haven't signed up and paid for, or I haven't used Midjourney yet. I have Discord. I just haven't messed around with it. I did mess around a little bit with the, but it was for fun. The one that does the voices. Where you upload the voices.
Yeah.
The voice sampling and then get it to read a script in the voice. I forget which one that is. But I did mess around with that one, but Midjourney I haven't played with yet.
Okay, great. Thank you. And again, thank you for being so gracious about being put on the spot. And it looks like we're having the chat is people have been using the AI tools in different ways that have been really productive, editing, developing preliminary content, writing mock research proposals. So these are all great uses. And I think what we're hoping today is just to help you add to those different ways that you're using the tools. So let me see if I can advance the slide. No. There we go. All right, so what I'd like to do now is turn to the topic of AI literacy. And I'd like to start by showing you this data from a report called the Titan report, and we'll give you the abbreviated version of the report if you'd like to learn more after this workshop. So the thrust of the report, I think, is that higher education is really at an inflection point. This is a slide taken from this consulting group, the Titan Partners, and the data was released on April 25th, 2023, from a study conducted in February and March. And it surveyed 2,000 instructors and 2,000 2 to 4 year college students. And essentially what this data shows is that students are increasingly likely to use AI writing tools like ChatGPT even when prohibited. And I'm showing this not to scare you, but to show you that, or to hopefully to introduce a discussion of why AI literacies might help curb some of these tendencies. And if we are able to adopt AI literacy to the extent that we're able in our classrooms, that we can help students make better decisions about when and when it's not appropriate to use AI tools. And on that same vein, and this comes from the same report, what we see is that there really is a need for guidance and AI literacy, because it's really students who are sort of leading the charge with the use of AI tools. We can see from this report, for example, it's students far more than instructors, at least according to this February-March survey, that are the earliest adopters of AI tools. And we're keeping this in mind as we'll suggest some actionable strategies. We're not trying to scare you into using AI. Now, this slide, I think, really supports why AI literacy can be effective. And what it essentially shows is that there seems to be shifting attitudes about AI the more that people use the tools. So if we look at, and I apologize for the colors, this is just from the report itself. They're not very accessible friendly. If we look at sort of I would call it a rusty brown color, those are the people who say that they believe that AI generative writing will have a negative impact on student learning. And across the board, non-users seem to predominantly believe that AI generative writing will negatively impact student learning. However, if we look at the next column next to it, we'll see that the more that people, both admins, instructors, and students start using these tools, the more they shift their attitudes to believe that AI generative writing can have a positive effect on student learning. So part of what we want to do is just to explore the ways that AI can be used productively. And then the next part is to start thinking about what a framework for productive use might look like. And so with that in mind, I'd like to briefly talk about what is AI literacy. And this is a broad topic. So what I've tried to do is to distill it into kind of 4 categories to think about AI literacy in this broader conceptual framework. And I promise I will try not to lecture at you, and I will try to keep it as brief as possible so we can get to the exciting hands-on part of the AI workshop. All right, so starting with of these 4 different categories, I'd like to start with awareness of AI literacy. And I think this is something that's important for anyone who's thinking about using it. If we keep in mind that from Google searches to Siri, social media, and online shopping, that AI is far more pervasive in our lives than many of us really think about daily. So awareness really just means being aware and understanding the impact of AI on society and reflecting on its potential benefits and drawbacks. I think at the university level, this might mean having open discussions with your students or colleagues about the risks entailed in AI use and focusing on issues perhaps like privacy, data, and academic integrity. If we move on to capability, and when I talk about developing AI capability, really, I mean just learning to experiment with different AI tools, bringing an open or growth mindset to them, and being able to use them effectively and efficiently. An example right now and a hot topic is prompt engineering. If you look at any AI content online, there's a big focus on how to write the best prompts. As AI evolves, it might change, but that's a AI capability competency. I would stress that I think this isn't so much about expertise. None of us really, well, I hope none of us need to become AI experts on top of our day jobs, but I think rather the goal might be developing a working proficiency. And what this might mean, for example, is learning to choose the right AI tool for the right job or project, and knowing when AI is not appropriate. In terms of knowledge, I would say that knowledge refers to a foundational understanding of the technical aspects of AI. And so recognizing that it's based on algorithms and algorithmic application, which I find hard to say. So recognizing that AI is not sentient, it doesn't really understand the words that it strings together. It really just does so on the basis of patterns. I think this is something especially important to discuss with students because it helps explain why AI will give false answers, or hallucinate is the common term. And also that AI, due to its algorithm, has a tendency to give affirmative answers, even if it doesn't know what the heck it's talking about. We could take it one level further and think about issues of bias and ethical or moral issues tied to AI use, but that's almost a separate workshop into itself. And lastly, I just want to mention critical thinking. And I think critical thinking in this context refers to the ability to evaluate AI technologies and their impacts from a variety of perspectives. At the university or course level, this might be deciding on appropriate standards and uses for AI for yourself as well as your student. And one way I keep coming back to this framework because I like it so much is to provide a workflow or to use a graphic like this to show students, or even to think about ourselves and our different areas of expertise about what a critical framework for AI use looks like. And I think this framework asks important questions. So does it matter if the output is true? Are you willing to take full responsibility for misused inaccuracies? You don't want to be, there's a news article in the last week or so about a lawyer who used ChatGPT, I think it was in New York, and they used a lot of inaccurate citation. So we don't want to be like that.
Emily, I just want to let you know that Peg has returned.
Oh, great. Okay. I just have a few slides left, so I will start wrapping up. I think I have 3 slides left, and I'll try to be brief. And then we can transition over to Peg or decide what to do next.
Sorry, everybody.
All right. So what I just presented was what I think of more of a conceptual framework for AI. What I'd like to do now is focus for the remaining portion of my presentation on some real strategies that I think you can adapt in your classroom. And I think the first is to have an open conversation about the potential impact of AI in your classes. And that might look like a variety of things, depending on what your class policy looks like. And that leads to the second point, which it's so important right now, I think, to introduce clear guidance about how and when AI can be used in your classroom, whether it's a blanket policy for your entire class, or maybe it's at an assignment by assignment level. Another thing that you may want to think about is reviewing assessments to incorporate AI or to reduce AI vulnerability. And I believe we're going to have an entire workshop coming up on that later this summer. If you're using AI, we do suggest that you think about ways to connect AI use to learning outcomes. And if you have time, and I know that time is really a valuable commodity in all your classes, if you build in support for experimentation or connect with City and kind of guide us or ask for ways that we can help you build in support for experimentation. All right, at this point, I really want to stress what City we've been talking about might have to be our new mantra in terms of AI. And I love this quote that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. And in fact, slow incorporation can be a good thing. But what I like from this quote is that it does ask us to think with intention about when we want to incorporate an AI and when we don't want to incorporate AI. And perhaps that's a conversation that you want to have with your students. And with that idea in mind, the last thing that I want to leave you with before I turn over the presentation to another team member is what a possible spectrum of AI use might look like in your classroom. And you might use all ends of the spectrum within a single class. So you might have, on the one hand, no AI use for certain activities or assessments. They might be conducted under kind of regular assessment conditions. For some activities, you might allow AI use for brainstorming or ideas. In others, maybe you would encourage students to use AI for outlining in notes. One that I really love is using AI for feedback and editing, and I'll be talking about that more in my big breakout room. It's a great way to have students provide formative feedback, especially for a scaffolded writing assignment. Or you could be really bold and have a full AI incorporation on an assignment or maybe even your whole class. All right, so I'm going to pause my portion of the presentation there. I have not been able to watch the chat though. Are there any questions that we might want to return to?
Actually, this is Peg. I've been trying to keep up with the chat. It's been kind of fast and furious the last few minutes. Yes, we're going to have a copy of the PowerPoint available. We're going to have a lot of resources available to everybody. That's one of the things that we're going to be highlighting as we go through the workshops. And then Juliana asked if Rush as an organization is going to provide clear guidance for AI use. They are working on a policy through the UCC, and then that is going to be disseminated down. Obviously, it's being built by the faculty, with the faculty, for the faculty, and there are different levels of guidance. But at the end of the day, there's going to be an overarching policy of that's going to be a little bit nebulous because they don't.
Uh-oh.
It sounds like Peg froze a bit. So if I can just continue what she's saying, there will be guidance, but the current guidelines that I think are under review will have different options that you can choose to apply to your classroom. They sort of replicate on a class level this spectrum of use. So you might decide if AI use is prohibited, if it's allowed for some activities, if it's allowed for some activities with attribution or citation, or if it's allowed for all activities. All right, and let's just take a look at the chat. Laura or Daniel, were there any other questions that we might want to address?
I don't see any other questions
No.
other than what Peg responded to. Daniel, do you?
Likewise, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
All right, well, since Peg's having some difficulties, should we just proceed with the breakout room?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, all right, let me advance the slide, and I think Laura's going to briefly introduce the breakout rooms.
Okay, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining. We're really excited to devote a good portion of this session to actual application. So we have developed 4 different breakout rooms, a minimum of 4. because we want to also keep this organic and enable you to do with AI what you would like relative to your teaching. The 4 breakout rooms that we've set up are getting started. This will be specifically on account creation, privacy issues, and academic integrity. And Daniel will be heading up that breakout room. The second one is refining assignments. I will be leading that breakout room, and this will be specifically on creating new assignments or revising an existing assignment using an AI tool. Feedback. Emily will be heading up this breakout room specifically on using AI as a feedback tool for self-assessment and personalized learning. I believe that includes rubrics. And then Peg, hopefully if she can rejoin us, will be leading a breakout room on the future of healthcare, discussion and debate. How has AI changed healthcare and what's coming next? So if you could go to the next slide, please. So, oh, yeah. Thank you. So while we have these breakout rooms set up, these 4 ones, we will have additional ones for you guys to jump into and collaborate, which we'll be using for some of our the breakout rooms that I just mentioned. Please feel free to join the breakout room of your choice. You can circulate among rooms. You are by no means restricted to the room you join initially. And if you need an account, if you're just beginning and getting started, please join Daniel in the Getting Started room. So I think that's it. As for the introduction of our breakouts, Emily or Daniel?
Yeah, I believe that's it. I think we just need Daniel,
Open the
if you're the
breakout
host,
rooms.
if you want to open the breakout rooms. And I was just going to put Peg's resource in the chat. So if people wanted to join her room and get started with this, she has a wonderful set of resources about AI and healthcare education so that you could start priming or preparing for a discussion and debate.
Yes, and
Okay.
Emily, I'm glad you put this in the chat. I forgot to say that we will be devoting, well, we'll sort of gauge it depending upon how they go, but please do stay after the breakout rooms. We will regroup in the last 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes or so for a brief discussion, a recap and needs analysis, because we really want to hear from you, you know, what as to what your needs are in the coming months. So there will be a discussion about that, as well as an exit ticket for you to complete so we can identify those needs. And Emily just shared the resources for Peg's breakout room.
All
And
right.
Peg's back, and I changed I'm using my phone hotspot. So
Oh my
I
goodness.
may be there.
All right. If you may, I think when we were changing hosts over, the breakout room setup got deleted. Can someone quickly give me the title of each
Oh, yeah.
room?
Yeah, Getting Started is one breakout room.
Mm-hmm.
Revising assignments is the second.
Okay.
A third is personalized learning and feedback.
Okay.
And then AI and healthcare education.
Okay.
And it looks like we have a few more people joining us, so we may briefly just want to recap where we're going since we're moving into discussion room or breakout rooms.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open all the rooms now. Nobody's assigned at this point, so.
And are people able to choose their own rooms?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
So for the people that have just joined, we have 4 different breakout rooms available. Each one has a different topic. You're free to circulate amongst the rooms. If you walk in and hate the one you're in, you can leave, or if you just want to dip your toes into all of them, that's fine. Each one has a different topic. The first one is getting started for people that haven't really done much with AI yet. The next one is, hold on, I got to pull it up because I didn't actually have it on my screen. The next one is Laura, with creating or revising an assignment. The next one is personalized feedback or personalized learning and feedback and self-assessment. And then the last one is more of a discussion forum about how AI is changing healthcare and what's going to be coming next. So those are the 4 choices. You can go into any one you choose and we will open them. They'll be open for about 40 minutes, right? Is that what we decided?
Yeah, I think we'll group around 11 or 11:10 maybe.
Okay, yeah.
That sounds good.
And if we finish early, just pop back into the main room and we will continue and do more fun things.